Hi, everybody. A very, very good afternoon to all of you, and good morning, good evening, depending on which part of the world you all are. I welcome you all to this really amazing, amazing journey with Serena Olsen, who is going to join us soon from Thailand. And we are going to discuss about inner dance, which is something that she has been practicing for more than 8 to 10 years, and thousands of people all over the world have benefited and participated in uh, what she does, and it's really magical. I have attended several of her sessions, you know, and it's really amazing, and that is the reason we decided that we need to bring Serena on here and share what she does with all the people that we are connected through Facebook and our Abundant Life group, and wherever we are connected with them. So I really welcome you all, and I really hope that you all find this really as interesting as something that is going to go deep into your heart and something that's going to move you from inside just as much as it did for me. So welcome everybody, and uh, thank you for joining us. And I know we have had some. I have been testing this Facebook Live with the phone for some time earlier today, and some of you had come in that time, and I had to stop that session because that was just a test session, and it was not something that was something for all of be live there. So I'm sorry if I had any confusion to anyone. Hey Serena, how are
Hello.
you? So good to see
Great.
you.
Yeah.
So Serena is here, and please welcome this beautiful young lady who's been, doing some amazing work with people's heart and souls across the world. So I welcome you here, Serena. Thank you so much for, giving us time out of your very, very busy schedule. I know you've been really keeping yourself very busy there, and it's amazing and great to have you here with us.
Thank you. It's so
You want to
nice
say
to
any
be able to
opening words to
join.
the people who are here?
Oh, hello. I'm not used to doing these Facebook Lives, so I'm a little bit nervous being on video, but otherwise, very, very happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So, Sarina, I think it may be a very nice way to begin this conversation by asking you what is the meaning of inner dance. People know the meaning of the word dance, and they attribute it to when we go to a disc or when we dance in a party and there is music playing. So I know you work a lot with music, and but this is an inner dance. It's a dance that has no movement outside but a lot of movement inside, isn't it? So I have experienced this thanks to you. So would you like to tell us what inner dance is all really about?
Okay, sure. Uh, Inner dance is something that is continuing to evolve. It has gone through many different progressions over the years and was connected very much to Kundalini awakening processes or a spiritual awakening type of process where, from that internal place, an energy of remembrance wakes up and rises in a way that can feel very empowering or very liberating for the systems that one begins to recognize that have perhaps been holding someone back from their authentic state of being or from a memory of essence or the innate forms that we came into this world with when we were infants. Something like a birth vision that is a full support of that most invigorating type of life that we want to live. So the inner dance is a process that takes us back into these remembrances of who we truly are at that essential point when spirit and body merge as one and then begins to move at a cellular level, at a level of electricity in the body, as well as in the movements. So, although this is a process where people might find their bodies very quiet in a physical way, it also is a process that begins to wake up movements from the non movement. So, when listening to the sounds or to the soundscape or the playlist, there's this potential for the body to remember what it is to move before you think. So before there's a thought to move the body, there is this innate pulse, and it comes from the deep story of our own system of interpretation, from the deepest parts of our history, from the earliest humans on the planet, and something that has always been alive within us, but isn't always easy to remember, especially in these modern times. So inner dance taps into a lot of this. And although it doesn't require music for it to happen in the sense of an energy that rises in the body, the music is really supportive to take people into a journey, because sound is also a system that our bodies remember from very, very, very long ago. The very first utterances that were made by humans in connection with each other or in relation to the earth itself. So music is used as a support for guiding people into that space where a lot of different things can come through.
Yeah, I was listening to a interview done by Bruce Lipton with somebody who does something called sound showers. And I think he's a European guy. I don't recollect his name very well, though. But what Bruce was saying, I mean, for people who don't know who Bruce Lipton is, he's a doctor, and he was teaching medicine in the U.S., and he realized that what he was teaching versus what he was experimenting was completely opposite of each other, and he thought that what he was teaching was lies. So he quit his job as a teacher, and he started working on stem cell when hardly a handful of people in the world knew what it was, which was in 1967. So he's come a long way from there till 2020 now. But what he said is that, our body responds to, when we are looking at medicine, our body responds to external things that we take, which like we popping in pills or taking medicine or going for, chemo or whatever we do. And there is another way that our body reacts is through vibrations. And since you say you use a lot of music, I mean, music is, we can listen to music and we can cry and we can laugh and we can jump and we can dance. And, that's why it's called trance music. People literally go in a trance and they almost seem to lose themselves. So I think he was saying that music is 99% more effective. Sound basically is 99% more effective than the medicine that we take, because 99% of the medicine burns out with what it can do for you good in the heat exchange that it does. So, and medicine travels in your body through blood. So if we assume that blood travels at the speed of 1 foot a second, sound vibration travels at 146,000 miles a second. And there is no dilution or nothing that gets dissipated, whatever that word is. Nothing gets lost when it is coming to you. So you get the whole energy of the sound into you, and it flows that fast. So it's a no-brainer that it seriously works better than medicine. Nobody's saying medicine is bad and don't take it. I mean, we are not at all promoting that idea. But what you have done, I have participated with you in several workshops, and I really can't even begin to explain how I felt. I think it's something that we need to just experience it, which we are going to do in a while. So do people have any questions that you would like to ask Serena, on this amazing experience that we are going to have? Yeah, Sid, are there any questions that people are asking here that you can help us to bring them to light? Okay, so I don't know how many are we, but there are some people I know here. Sweta is here. Sweta, is there anything that you would like to ask us or ask Serena really? Hi, Rahul. How are you? How is everybody? Thanks for being here. My friend is here from Surat. He's a fashion designer. Okay. People are just joining. That is what Siddharth is saying. So maybe,
Okay.
you want to share more. I mean, you said that when we do inner dance, it takes us into something like a dream-like state. So what is it that you mean by saying that?
Okay. Um, a lot of the work that I've done with inner dance is connecting not just these abilities of sound to do something in the form of music, but as well within the different brainwave states that we're naturally connected to in our circadian rhythms and in our body. And in the inner dance playlists, we are mimicking something of those circadian rhythms that are very familiar to us in our sleep cycles. So, because those are things that our body recognizes when we're asleep, if we're using something similar to those rhythms in a soundscape, then our body also has the potential to go into dreamlike states while we're awake. It's not something that only happens when we close our eyes and turn our conscious mind off completely like we do when we're sleeping, but there is something that we're able to tap into in this middle ground. And the other potential that happens with the inner dance from this perspective is when we're going into the various brainwave states. Pretty much any time that we close our eyes, we're going to dive deeper into the more subtle frequencies rather than the beta frequencies. The beta brainwave state is something that naturally happens as soon as our eyes are open and we're using our conscious brain to interact with the world. When we close our eyes and we're not going to sleep, we start moving into other more subtle vibrations and vibratory states that have memories connected to every different part of our life and body and system of interpretation. So if we're accessing something like a theta frequency through the sounds that we're hearing or listening to, or our entire body is listening, then we maybe enter something way more dreamy, imaginative, creative, interpreted through various sensory experiences in the physical body that feel quite like hallucinations or shifts in what is the gravitational pull. So these are connected to the different brainwave states, especially, and that's what we're doing in the inner dance, is moving through various vibrational states. So as you were saying before about sound having so much power, when you combine the power of sound to work in the body, just as listening to music can, when you also shift between brainwave states and various keys that are connected with our energy centers, there's these different combinations that are coming together. And when things overlap, especially in some of the soundscapes that I make, we're holding various vibrations simultaneously. So we're acting on something that normally would take us into a state of deep rest and relaxation and physical rejuvenation, at the same time that perhaps we're also accessing a theta wave of the dream state or an alpha wave that's giving us more focus, concentration, and meditative potential. So these are happening simultaneously in these inner dance soundscapes.
Thank you. And I can see our lovely friend Karina Nelson, who introduced me to you. Really, she is here. So thanks, Karina, for being here, and thanks for, letting me know about Serena and connecting us together. And it's been a great journey since we have met. And thank you very much, Karina, and thanks for being here. So I think Sweta had asked a question earlier. So I wanted to ask how. Sid, can you please read out the question? Can you read the question of Sweta? How effective is it for people who are suffering from physical diseases? That's what she's asking.
Okay. I've worked with a lot of people that have had a variety of physical ailments. The thing about music therapy in general, whether it be inner dance or another type of technique that's using sound to formulate these bases for healing, is people kind of have to be ready for it in some way, or they have to be willing to tap into these more subtle transformations rather than the type of a prescription that doses you with something that blasts your system into a change. So I would say that the pharmaceutical industry tends to go and blast something, and that does go into a healing process, but I don't think that it works on the underlying roots quite as much as what some of these more gentle and longer stretched out versions of using something to work with the internal structures of the entire memory system of a body are actually able to tap into. So when it depends on the physical ailments, this is connected to a lot of the work that I do with transformation medicine. So I've been working with the energy centers of the body in relation to the different connections, combinations, and energetic uh, um, like analogies in a way where you have one thing, but it's not separate. There's an entire network of connections that are a part of whatever that one thing might seem like it's creating, either as a disease, disordered ailment, something like that. So when we go deeper into this work and we move through the various brainwave states, there's subtle healing that is happening because there's a change in frequency. So if there's a dissonance in the body when you hit a certain frequency or a particular key that works very specifically with the various energy centers we could also call chakra centers. So when we're putting these things in combination, whenever something rises up in the body that feels uncomfortable, it's not necessarily a projection that's from the physical to the internal. Most of the time, it's something that's starting off internally in the emotions or in the psyche or the memory system that is related to traumas or triggers for particular response types that have been a part of its patterns for a long time. And then it shows up in the physical body. And we don't always know exactly how it gets to the physical, because sometimes things are starting off just in our relationship with our parents, let's say, as a child. And many of the programming that happens when we're young, we then believe very strongly as a concrete example of our individual personalities, our character type, something culturally that represents us. And it's hard to know exactly where's the entanglement. How is it that the physical body is wrapped up in an emotion that was first experienced perhaps at 5 years old when something happened? And so we don't always go into this work targeting things very specifically, saying, okay, my knee hurts, can you fix my knee using sound? There's a lot of other parts to this, and perhaps in a version of going directly for that healing of wanting something to happen, and being so focused on the idea that it isn't already healed makes it a challenge. So I don't go into this work saying that what it is we do is going to heal someone, but that when there is an openness to experience things in a new way, or to allow for the system a chance to connect with various approaches that maybe have never been explored before by that person, it starts to work on many of the different body systems and wavelengths. And in that version of connecting with oneself, there is the potential for the need to actually heal on its own. But it's like it's a very different approach. It's the perspectives. It's changing the perceptions and allowing for that to kind of unfold more naturally. At the same time, when I'm working with someone in person, or when anyone that has been connecting with this inner dance process as a facilitator uses some type of an energy work with a person that they're physically with, then this type of an energetic touch adds another layer of healing for whoever it is that's being worked with. So what we're doing today online is a little different because we're accessing all of this information through sound and through the capacity of sound to bring about a reinterpretation and a restructuring of the internal perceptions that are already very ingrained in our bodies. And when you have a chance to just be with someone in person or in a group space where people are helping to walk around the room and give very physical touch-based support to someone, another element of the healing is also happening. And I would never negate that part of it. That's also something so beautiful to experience, the aspect of inner dance when you are in a room with people, or when you're one-on-one with someone who's mirroring that part that you're going through physically, energetically, emotionally, mentally, and in the intuitive field of connections. And for today, then we're exploring so much more what happens in a world when lockdowns, quarantines, and social distancing is a big part of daily life at this time. Just to see, like, what else can we also offer each other when we can't physically be together? And can we feel some of these types of connections with each other just by allowing ourselves the time and space to lay down and close our eyes and tune into something together?
So, Serena, you are an executive director at SHEM, which is your self-health empowerment movement. So, you want to tell us what you are doing with them and what is this organization all about?
Okay, so the self-health empowerment movement, known as SHEM, is based in the Philippines, and it's an NGO that is founded by a doctor friend of mine. His name is Rami Paredes. He is the creator of a place in Cebu called Wellness Land Health Institute. And so I've spent a lot of time over the years, having lived in the Philippines for about 5 or 6 years, working with him, connecting with his patients, doing biofeedback readings for people, and giving as much support to what SHEM is offering as much as I can. So some of my work has been based within transformation medicine, and that's it's like a little branch of SHEM in a way. And so I've been helping to power that. Although in the time since putting the website together about a year and a half ago, I haven't had that much energy to put directly into it. But the beauty right now is that I think in the next couple of years, people are going to be a lot more ready to experience some of these alternative, holistic, wholeness system approaches to health and well-being, because the whole planet is going through quite a disruption at the moment. And I think we need a little bit more time to just pass through some of these stages of fear and attachment to the old systems that are reminding us life is not a eternity, that immortality is not exactly what we are witnessing as a human population, but that if we really want to take charge of our health, perhaps this idea that SHEM continues to promote, which is be your own best doctor, and take a look at all of the various systems within yourself that you can orient around to become more sensitive to, so that if you were to focus health, healing, and well-being from an internal space first, that the outside world, the external environment, might mirror more what is truthful for one inside. When we give our power away to doctors that are just willing to, from the pharmaceutical perspective of health and or cure, We're signing away our ability to transform how we know our bodies are are best able to um, breed healthy connections or to regeneratively associate with the world. And at the moment, just to be honest, I just today started to take some antibiotics because I have a sinus infection. So I'm not saying that there aren't times when you might actually want to take some type of a Western medicine to give your body support. And there are many, many times when I have chosen the longer route of naturally allowing my body to heal because I have time and space and energy and a sense that the world is vibrating to these potentials. At the moment, it's very interesting that in this year in particular, I've found the physical things that are coming up in my body a lot harder to work with from the natural space because it feels like there's so much fear in the collective that it's doing something. It's doing something right now, and so there's no one right way to do this. But I have a lot of information when it comes to using nutrition as a form of health. And in Shem, a lot comes from this plant-based living as a means to connect the body to the most optimal forms of nutrition that would continue to allow for someone to sustain a healthy life for long periods of time. We would know that any any food products that are being produced in a and in a way in these my mind is drawing a blank at the moment. Anything that's packaged and that's um, uh, that's being sold as food, but it's mostly made out of chemicals. If we know that these types of things aren't actually good for us, but we keep eating them, we're slowly putting more and more toxicities into the body. So at the root cause, Shem, when it's talking about being your own best doctor, often says that there's just two main ways in which our bodies slow down and get sick or uh, come into some type of dis-ease, and that would be toxicity and deficiency. And so once toxicities build up enough, it's really hard to reconnect with the natural flow. And if the body goes into deficiencies, sometimes this could be just from a mental deficiency. So it's not just physical. If the mind is draining a person because they're constantly stressed or because they just feel like they're not good enough, that they can never reach their goals, that there's always this depletion of energy to succeed, these can create very physical deficiencies in the body.
Yeah.
So with Shem, we're looking at what it means to be in a state of wholeness from the aspect of never leaving any one thing out. Include everything in what it is you're looking at. And definitely include your emotions and your mental state in what it is that you want to create in your physical body. Because when you work on an emotional level, when you work on a mental level or a spiritual level first, the physical body often catches up. If you try to just focus on blasting something physically, but the mind is still clouded by all of these negative thought patterns, or the emotions just haven't had a chance to express, release, or purge out what has been built up over so many years, then these are parts of our clearing, our ability to reconnect with the relaxation that is naturally a part of what I would say is the baby's state of being, that inner childlike innocence that we all have, and something that gives us a little bit more joy and space to be creative with who we remember ourselves as, both as individuals and as a global community.
I think, I am not good enough is a serious, serious problem with too many people in this world, isn't it? I think people really have very,
Mm.
very low self-esteem and self-worth, and I think that is conditioning that is coming up from our childhood, messages that we receive from our schools, our teachers, our parents, our bosses, and whatever. And I think they have serious repercussions on our health, and it's really one of the biggest cause of a lot of illnesses that people have, isn't it? And does inner dance, at least at a certain conscious or a subconscious level, address these emotions of people?
Yes, and I would say that it does help on the levels of the unconscious, subconscious, and consciousness. Consciously, when someone starts to feel an emotion rising up in their body and they become aware that they're now feeling something in an emotional state, um, it's a choice in that moment. How will that emotion be expressed? Because if someone is trained in their childhood to suppress their emotions, to not show their emotions, to keep everything inside, or to only allow certain forms of expression to be externalized, then there's going to be specific patterns that play out. If a child is told, don't cry, um, then it's not okay to shed your tears. So in inner dance, there's times too when someone begins to cry, but they're not sad. And now they're wondering, is it okay that there's tears coming out of my eyes? I don't feel sad. Why am I crying? Is there something wrong with me? And again, this is because we've just been taught that it's not okay to show your emotions, or that emotions are a part of the human condition that is a weakness. A lot of times, emotions are considered weaknesses. So when we're giving ourselves permission to just experience them freely, or that, you're laying down with your eyes closed, listening to music, and things are coming up, do you feel safe in that moment with whatever it is that does come up? Because when emotions rise, and perhaps they're just ones that they've been stuck in the subconscious for a really long time. Maybe when you're asleep, you have nightmares, and this is how your emotions are trying to get worked out so that you can have more clarity when you're consciously awake. Maybe it's something that has become so unconscious that you wire yourself to an avoidance pattern very, very quickly in the conscious life. So you know how to no longer need to feel those emotions. If somebody's experienced an intense form of heartbreak, perhaps they're going to be scared to enter into a new relationship because they just don't want to feel such intense emotions for however long it is. Are you willing to risk it? Are you willing to risk heartbreak just to also experience that deeper form of love again? And for some people, they might say no. For others, they're like, yeah, it's all right that my heart was broken. Like, I'm just going to keep it open and see what else kind of love comes in, and go from there. So we've all got different ways that we're wired to experience, to express, and to share what it is that we're feeling. And this is different for people in different cultures, in different geographical locations, in different age groups, and in different walks of life. So, because we all have such unique parts of our imprint on the world and the imprints that have created us, there's no one right answer to this. And there's no one way that it's going to work for everyone. But at the same time, if we're willing to just allow for ourselves to feel what it is in a moment, these soundscapes and this inner dance process does have a way of tapping into almost exactly what is needed in that moment. And so it might be different for every single person experiencing it at the same time. But there are also those more collective parts that come up. And so at a time like now, at this last month of such an intense and long year for all of us on the planet, I feel like we are collectively tapped into some of the exact same emotions. And although the story of each individual life that is exploring the emotions that have risen to the surface at a level of humanity, there's still something common being shared. And so the more that we give ourselves space just to feel what it is without a reaction or without a resistance, or a need to judge what it is, or to put an opinion or even a label to it, I feel like the more that we can tap into what is innocent underneath all of it, even if it's anger. Can anger be innocent? And if someone is willing to say no, I'd be the one to say, well, are you sure about that? and say there's still something beautiful even in the deepest of anger, even in the deepest of depression, even in the most traumatizing of an anxiety. There's still something beautiful, and there's still a potential for that to catalyze the greatest changes in one's life if you're willing to go for the journey instead of just resisting the process.
Super, super. So, Serena, when you say this is, you do a lot of work with something called transformation medicine, right? So, is when you say transformation medicine, what is it exactly that you mean in a very common man's language?
Okay. uh, Transformation medicine is a perception based approach to healing and transformation. And we've looked at this through a wholeness systems approach to healing, so that if you were to integrate all of the different components of one's body through the various energy centers that we would say are color based or chakra based, and very deeply interconnected with the physical body and all the other energy bodies, there's this potential to remember what that wholeness system is and integrate all those parts. So transformation medicine is not one specific approach that can be replicated for each person in the exact same way. If I go to the pharmacy with a sinus infection, I know what they're going to give me. They're going to give me amoxicillin, no matter what it is. It's like that's what they're going to do. And last night before I went to sleep, I was thinking, wouldn't it be amazing if a doctor gave me the option of just like sticking a little vacuum tube up my nose and just pulling everything out? Because wouldn't that actually work too, instead of having to put a chemical inside my body to dissolve it? Like, couldn't you just stick a little tube up there and suck it out? Wouldn't that be amazing? And no one's giving me that option if I go to the doctor. But if I take a look at something from these wholeness system approaches to transformation medicine, I know what I need to work on. And partly it's the story that I've had, even in relation to what is breath? What is an ability to breathe? What is it like to have a deviated septum in my nose that has made it hard for me to just clear things out when something gets stuck? And in all of my childhood years, going through a cycle of various types of infections, either in the sinuses or the glands or the lymph nodes, is there something wrong with me? Is this my fault? Is it something that I'm now referring to in my own space of recognition of what it was like as a child to feel sick, or to need your mother's care, or to have them wait a really long time before they take you to the doctor, or not know what type of natural things to give you that might have given you support before you got to a point when you needed some type of medication. And so transformation medicine would say, look at all of this, because any of these childhood patterns that are still playing out are going to make you way more susceptible to the exact same patterns as you had when you were young if that's not something that you've worked through now. So this is a check and balance system in a big way that helps us to rewire our perceptions and to think about ourselves from that empowered state of being our best doctor and just knowing when to do what it is you need. And so if you do find yourself at a point when you need some type of a pharmaceutical medicine to give some assistance to the body, just make sure that you're also going to take the probiotics to like help things out on a bacterial level of putting the good stuff back in and eating the right foods and giving your body as much support and love as possible from a compassionate place rather than a place of saying that I need to fight this. So in transformation medicine, there's no fight. There's no fight. There's no way that you're trying to put another resistance back into the system. It's saying just clear
Yeah.
things out. And if you haven't looked at it yet, maybe take a look at it and see if just witnessing yourself looking at it, things might naturally clear on their own.
Yeah, because I feel that, most of the ailments that we have in today's world, they are all somewhere related to our emotional state of being, and not probably eating well, or, not taking really body to keep our body, mind and soul in sync. So when we are taking this allopathy medicine, I'm again saying I'm not against allopathy. Some of my best friends are doctors, so I will never say anything against medicine. But I think they are so symptomatic in nature, the treatment that they give, that I don't know if they are ever able to really address the cause of it. And so, this energy medicine, whether it's, inner dance, or it's music, or, people are doing theta healing, people are doing so many kinds of healing. They are, I think, trying to address, do something with your inner self, with your inner being, where, you open up and you release that, block, or that symptom, or that, somebody has labeled me as something, and that you release all that, and that release probably causes the cure. Because the problem that you see on the outside of your body is a symptom of something that is very different, than what it cancer is not a disease, is a symptom of something that is wrong somewhere else, for example. And I've been listening to a lot of Bruce Lipton, who talks extensively on this topic, and I'll be happy to share these videos with everyone. So I think one of the interesting things that Serena has promised us today is that she's going to give us a 40-minute experience of what inner dance can do to you. So I can keep on telling you what I felt, and she can keep telling you what it does, but I think everybody has their own unique experiences. And I have done this thrice with her, and each time it was a very different experience, and it left me very differently after that, every single time. So I think it is, where I am at this point in time with my emotional state of being and what is happening to me inside. The inner dance provokes, and I think it dances with my inner self, and it just brings out so many things. So is everyone ready to really get into and experience inner dance now? How many of you are ready to do that? I sadly can't see the hands going up because only you and me are on the video. But if anybody can just type out something, and Serena can tell us very briefly what it is that we have to do, and I'll be playing the music here, so we can all, we will need what, Serena, 40 minutes?
Yeah, this track will be 40 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, so we will have to, Serena can tell you what we have to do while the music is being played for 40 minutes. Serena, can you tell us what they have to do?
Okay, sure. So I'll give a little bit of a background on this one first.
Yeah.
Okay, so most of the time right now, when I'm facilitating the process, especially when I have a group of people with me, but also when I've been starting to do these online journeys through Zoom, I'm able to do the soundscapes live. So I'm channeling the room, I'm working with everybody that's with me, I'm feeling into what I know is intuitively coming through as certain sounds, frequencies, and songs are in the moment, coming through as an expression. And for me, sometimes it is a thought that it's also that's also like the lyrics to a song. Sometimes it's just a particular type of melody. Sometimes it's knowing exactly what key I might need to, and I work with all of these different qualities of sound to put something together. So the soundscapes have many different layers to them. So that's also a reason why so many times two people are listening to the exact same thing, but each person's hearing something completely different. Then there's times when someone says, wow, that part where you played the sounds of the baby, that was so big, that was so much, it was so amazing. And then someone else is like, I didn't hear a baby at all, where was the baby? So it's fascinating how this works, because there's nothing that you have to do, and it's definitely going to connect to these perceptual ways that your brain is engaged with the sound, that way in which your mind is taking you on a journey based on all of these different conditions, stories, patterns, and memories that have been embodied in you and your system since you were born. And so this is why the work is so unique for each person, and why I can't tell you that there's something specific you have to do in order for this to work. So today, what I can tell you though, because I already know what we're going to play for you, this is a track that is designed to take us from the root chakra up to the heart, so that the last part that you're listening to is just a quick song that kind of brings us into the heart. But it's a nice way for us to connect with our root chakra. Balance, perhaps, because I know we're going through so much as a planet right now, and each one of us is experiencing a different form of what it's like to go through this time, to have made it to the last month of this year. Woo, we're almost done. And so I felt like this would be a really beautiful way for us to connect to the inner dance, and to the potential of this work to just bring about a bit of a shift in our bodies, and in maybe a sense of lightness from what it is that we've been experiencing. So there might be a lot of different emotions that come through, especially when we get to the sacral chakra. Don't worry about thinking it too much in terms of, oh, what's happening? She just talked about the chakras and something to do with the vibrational changes. If you're interested in things like that, I'm definitely offering some of this work for people to go deeper and understand more. But the only really thing that you need to do, and I would suggest that if you can, grab a pair of headphones before we start, because the sound comes through a lot better in the headphones than if you're listening with an external speaker. Because this is something we can't be transmitting directly through Facebook Live, the sound quality isn't quite as crisp as if I'm able to do that directly through a screen share, or in a direct recording that we're sharing by one of our devices. So that's why I suggest the headphones. And then just find yourself a comfortable place to lay down if you can. Horizontal is a really great space for this, because it's usually just when we go to sleep that we go horizontal and close our eyes. So even just giving your body permission for the next 30-40 minutes to be in a horizontal state with your eyes closed is a really beautiful place to begin. And then allow yourself to connect with your breath. Allow yourself to connect with your heartbeat. Allow yourself to just feel any sensations moving through your physical body in whatever way that they arise. Even if those sensations might be new to you or unfamiliar to you, or might be something that also raises the question of, ooh, is that okay? Or, ooh, should I be feeling this? Trust it as much as you can, and allow yourself to just reconnect back with your heart and your breath if something starts to feel like it's going maybe too far for where you can stay focused. If you feel like your mind is going all over the place, then I would also suggest just to reconnect back with your breath, because it can really help keep you centered in your heart. And that's a really good place to be. And at the end, I would also suggest just reconnecting back with the heart space as a place for the reintegration to happen. You might not know what it is that has happened. You might not have words for it. You might experience things that you're unfamiliar with, and or that take you to places that you've never been before, either in your mind, in your visuals, or even in your own physical body. So just allow for this to be an experience where the less expectation you have, the more space there is to just receive.
Okay, so everybody ready? Can we start? I will start the music in about a minute. Anybody has any questions to ask? No, I guess no questions there. So I'll start the music, okay? So
Okay.
just give me a minute. A sec. Okay, so I'm keeping my ready. So Shweta said she's ready. So okay, Shweta, here we go. I'm